Hey YouTube, in this video we're doing a deck profile on my budget Shadow Witches deck. So this one was built using all the leftover cards that I had from Extra Booster 11, Requiem at Dusk. So let's get right into it. So for Witch of Comets, Manisa. She is your generic 10k Shadow Paladin Legion. So basically, if you're not familiar with what the generic common ones do, they're all 10k and they all attack when they're in Legion. Well, when they're not in Legion, they're attacking for 12k unboosted. So that's decent. It would be nice if it was 13, but that's a little bit asking for too much. The other thing is when they're in Legion, they're attacking for 27. So that's a pretty high number. That's without a boost. So with your generic 5k boost or 4k boost, you're hitting over 30,000 every turn since the turn that you do the Legion. So it's not terrible. And the nice thing about it is that it allows the flexibility of running a lot of rear guards that use counterblast. The other grade 3 that I just threw in was the other Witch of Curse Talisman Etain. So these are my two double R's that I pulled from BT12 when they originally came out, and then I have the two rares that were reprinted in Requiem. So just for this, you almost never want to ride this. The limit break effect is not really that good. Most of the time, if you're forced to ride this first, you're just going to be swinging for 13. So when it attacks a Vanguard, it's 13k unboosted. So with a 7k boost, it's 20k attack. So it's not that terrible, but it's like, it's not your ideal ride. So you definitely want to be able to do the Legion effect. That should be the primary goal. You do the Legion effect and then try to rush down your opponent with like a beatdown style deck, because that's basically what this deck is. As for grade 2s, for Comet Witch Serva, this is the Legion mate for Manisa. So another thing I want to point out is the Legion mate for the generic 10k Legion is always going to be a 10k vanilla. So that's not a terrible thing. It just makes the deck very plain and vanilla, but this is a really good anti-rush turn 2 ride, so it still helps the deck actually be relatively consistent. Next, one Inspection Witch Deirdre. This is just my leftover 5th copy that I pulled. So I threw it in because they have the Soul Blast for it, and it allows them to play the whole witch style where they get to mess up with the opponent's field and put like a grade 0 on the field. And then next, 2 Skull Witch Nemain. Now I did say this is a budget deck. These are my triple R's, but she was reprinted as a rare in the Requiem at Dusk. So 2. Originally I was running 3, but 3 was too many. That was just too much. It's just too. She's a 3,000 attack body, so it's like the worst turn 2 ride in the game. So that's the reason why I dropped her to 2. And when you're forced to have to use her with like a 7k booster behind her, you're not really pressuring the opponent that well. So that's the other reason why. But still, it's a good little draw engine there. And then for more draw power, 2 Moonlight Witch Vaha. This is again, this was reprinted as a rare. These are my double R's from set 5. But these are the older. These witches have been around for a while, so that's why I decided to include them in the deck. And then 2 Witch of Reality Femme. This is your 12k attacker for the witch archetype or subclan. So this is my grade 2 lineup. So it's pretty budget, I would say. For grade 1s, 2 Witch of Quest Securna. So she allows them to do something with all those grade 0s on the opponent's field. So it's like a good tech card. And then 4 Witch of Precious Stones Dana. This is the main card besides Deirdre. These 5 cards are going to be how you're going to still manage to do the whole field disruption, where you basically call this card Soul Blast 1, and then choose a rear guard circle on the opponent's field, and the opponent has to call a 0 from their drop zone onto that R. So it's still pretty good play style. And then 4 Witch of Ruination This one is the 10k grade 1 attacker for the witches. So it's a good early game rush card. And then the other thing about it is I'm not actually running, I don't think I'm running this in my actual, like the other witch deck. So I had room for it, so I just threw it in here. And then 2 Barrier Witch Grainne, or Grainne. She's the quintet wall for them that they got in Requiem at Dusk. And then 2 Shadow Paladin Perfect Guards, Dark Shield Mac Lir. So 2 and 2, it works. I mean, you're gonna have the Counterblast, because really the only cards that use the Counterblast are these 2. So this is Counterblast 1, and this is Counterblast 2 if it hits to draw cards. So yeah, you'll have the Counterblast available for it, since you'll never use this effect really, and then the Legion has no Counterblast. So for grade 0s, this is also another experiment. So I gave this deck 12 critical and 4 heal. So the witch heal and the witch critical, but then I also like brought out my old critical triggers from my old school Shadow Paladin deck, so I gave them a purpose again. So they're in here as well, because the deck doesn't have to rely on like a special counterblast or anything. So 12 critical is really good, especially with a relatively strong Legion attack. Like I said earlier, when you're attacking, it's going to be around like 30k or higher, unless you don't have a booster, and then it's like 27. So 27 is still a very high number. So 12 critical just helps this deck maintain pressure in a meta where a lot of legions have really good effects. So this is like a very vanilla card, so that's why, to compensate, we do run the 12 critical. Although keep in mind that there will be other decks out there that are using, like, I guess, more expensive legions with better effects, and they're also running 12 critical. So the other thing too about 12 critical is it allows your quintet wall to be a much better defensive card. It's a lot more effective when you're running all these extra 10k shields. So that's the other reason. And then the starter I went with is Creeping Dark Goat. So since I went with a very generic legion with a very generic legion mate, I went with a very generic starter as well. So Creeping Dark Goat, you have the counterblast for it. It puts it itself into the soul early on, so you will be able to soul blast to disrupt the opponent's field. And the other thing is, the goal of running this is so that you can search into this, so that you don't have to ride this if you have to. But you know, sometimes it fails, so that's why I don't really like these starters. But it's still, I think it's overall it's the better starter over the witch starter for this deck. So you can ride whichever starter you want, but I'm running this one. So hope you guys enjoyed that budget line witch deck. I think it's a very fun deck. I playtested it against my other witch deck, and it doesn't win as much, but it still can hold its own, and the 12 critical really helps, so I can't recommend that enough. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.